essay by Trethewey herself, in which she recalls, "My mother had come of age in Mississippi during the era of Jim Crow and at the height of the Civil Rights Movement. She had grown up steeped in the metaphors that comprised the mind of the South, the white South, and thus had not missed the paradox of my birth on Confederate Memorial Day. A child of miscegenation, a word that entered the American lexicon during the Civil War in a pamphlet. It had been conceived as a hoax by a couple of journalists to drum up opposition to Lincoln's re-election through the threat of amalgamation and mongrelization. When I was born, my parents' marriage was illegal in Mississippi, and as many as 20 other states in the nation, rendering me illegitimate in the eyes of the law. Persona non grata. My father was traveling out of town for work, so she made the short trip from my grandmother's house to Gulfport Memorial Hospital, as planned, without him. On her way to the segregated ward, she could not help but take in the tenor of the day, witnessing the barrage of rebel flags lining the streets, flanking the Confederate monument, private citizens, lawmakers, Klansmen, hoisting them in Gulfport and small towns all across Mississippi. Sequestered on the colored floor, my mother knew the nation was changing, but slowly. She knew I would have to journey toward an understanding of myself, my place in the world, with the invisible burdens of history, borne on the back of metaphor, the language that sought to name and thus constrain me. I would be both bound to and propelled by it. She knew that if I could not parse the metaphorical thinking of the time and place into which I'd entered, I could be defeated by it. And yes, it was important for us to include previously published work from some of our greatest writers, so that we were always contextualizing our contributors in a long tradition and a widely vast current moment. For instance, a 1979 interview with Ernest J. Gaines and Callaloo editor Charles H. Rowell also appears in this section. Gaines is clear about his need to be with the land, not only with the people, but to be with the land. I come back not as an objective observer, but as someone who must come back in order to write about Louisiana. And beyond that need, he discusses how he decides on point of view and his appreciation for adaptation. Of course, I have questions about what Gaines means when he associates bad writing with too many Black arts movement writers, as if excellence is characteristic of more writers from any other movement. Our How You Living section shows writers' habits and ways of moving through the world such that their lives are open to inspiration and play. Here, Camille T. Dungy quips, "The first thing a writer needs to do is to learn how to pay attention." Our What It Looked Like section follows with actual writing exercises from Tony Medina and Afa Michael Weaver, and a full discussion on the uses of form in any genre from Tiffany Yannick. I'm probably proudest of gathering the Who You With section, which is ultimately about empathy and collaboration. How do we write those who are supposedly and obviously different from ourselves? How do we maintain creative partnerships with those who audiences might not expect? Is it possible to speak for the community through our work? The final two sections are meant to help move writers toward making use of well-known advice I am not sure everyone understands. In public forums since the dawn of Q&As, writers have been asked their advice for those interested in learning the craft. Quite often, and no matter who is asked, the answer is read. Read more. Read widely. How to read begins to get at what to do with all that reading, and how to translate it into well-wrought writing. Angela Flournoy discusses how reading frees us to write grief and tragedy as we feel it, and not as if there is some prescribed way to do it right. Terrence Hayes' journals show us how to live in the world of tradition, how to ingest as much of the past literature as we can, as if it is air. Carl Phillips's long essay provides example after example of what syntax is and how to employ it given one's reading of it in other work. In our final section, Going Back, Elizabeth Nunez discusses how literature, and Shakespeare in particular, taught her to write and how to write plot. Her essay offers a series of litmus tests for anyone who is wondering if what they made actually works with sentences like plot.